He bought me a coffee, left an envelope, and vanished like he wasn't even real. A simple security gig turned into a box full of dark secrets, and my face was right in the middle of it all. I came looking for a fresh start, but found a world where trust could get you burned. It all began the moment I opened that door. New York mornings at Starbucks always felt like a live-action comedy. Picture this, a herd of people gripping plastic cups as if they held the cure for all their problems. Each one of them convinced that being late to their soul-crushing job was the ultimate tragedy. Among them stood Jason Williams, a 34-year-old veteran, with the kind of face that screamed, "I have seen better days." And he had way better. Jason wasn't exactly there for the ambiance. He was wrestling with a life-altering question. Should he spend his last $5 on coffee or save it for something actually useful? $5 didn't go far, but skipping coffee felt like admitting defeat. And if there was one thing Jason hated, it was surrendering, even to his own wallet. He was about to bail when the guy behind him stole his thunder. Tall, sharp suit, sunglasses indoors, the kind of guy who looked like he walked straight out of a movie and into Jason's reality. Without even glancing up from his phone, the guy leaned toward the cashier. "One more Americano for him," he said, nodding at Jason like they were old pals. Jason froze. "Excuse me?" The guy didn't even know him. The cashier didn't blink, just punched in the order. "Hey, I can pay for myself," Jason said, his voice tight. He wasn't about to be someone's charity case. "Relax, man. It's just coffee," the guy replied with a grin that was either charming or infuriating, depending on your mood. Then he slid a crisp bill across the counter, like he did this kind of thing all the time. Jason wanted to argue, but realized he'd only make a scene. So he mumbled a reluctant, "Thanks," grabbed the coffee, and was about to leave when the barista handed him something extra, a plain white envelope. "What's this?" Jason asked, his brow furrowing. "Dude said to give it to you," she replied, already moving on to the next order. Jason stared at the envelope. On the front, in neat handwriting, were the words, "Read this in private." His first thought? This better not be some weird scam. Second thought? What kind of guy just hands out envelopes to strangers? He turned to confront the mystery man, but of course, the guy was gone. Vanished, like a magician after the big trick. Jason scanned the room one more time, but there was no trace of him. Back at his old, beat-up pickup truck parked a block away, Jason debated whether to open the envelope. Every instinct screamed, "Walk away, man. This has bad idea written all over it." But curiosity got the better of him. He ripped it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The note read, "If you want to change your life, be at the address tonight at 8 p.m. Be warned, it might be dangerous." Jason blinked at the words, then read them again. The address? Some swanky high-rise in Manhattan, the kind of place that didn't even bother hiding how expensive it was. He sat there for a long minute, the note in one hand and his untouched coffee in the other. Part of him wanted to laugh. What kind of movie plot was this? But the other part whispered something darker. What do you have to lose? By the time he started the engine, Jason had made up his mind. Tonight, he was going to that building. Dangerous or not, it couldn't be worse than the life he was already living. By the time the evening rolled around, Jason found himself standing at the base of a skyscraper, so polished it looked like it was trying to outshine the moon. The mirrored facade reflected his worn-out jacket and boots, making him feel like a character who'd wandered into the wrong movie. And based on the way the security guard was eyeing him, that assessment wasn't far off. I'm here by invitation," Jason said, holding up the envelope like it was some golden ticket. The guard, a mountain of a man with a clipboard and zero patience, squinted at the paper. He didn't say a word, just looked Jason up and down like he was trying to solve a math problem. After what felt like an eternity, he waved a hand toward the elevators. "Left one, 35th floor," the guard grunted, clearly unimpressed. Jason stepped into the elevator, the doors closing with a soft hiss that felt unnervingly final. The ride-up was quiet, too quiet. Each floor the elevator passed only made his heart beat faster. What am I walking into, he thought, but it wasn't like he had better options waiting for him back home. When the doors finally slid open, Jason was greeted by the Starbucks guy. Only this time, there were no sunglasses, no phone. Just that same infuriatingly relaxed grin. "Glad you made it," the guy said, like Jason was a dinner guest who showed up right on time. Jason crossed his arms. "All right, who are you, and what's your deal? Because this whole mysterious envelope and skyscraper thing is starting to feel like a really bad idea." The guy chuckled and extended a hand. "Name's Barron, Barron Trump." Jason blinked. He waited for the punchline, but it never came. "You've got to be kidding me." "I get that a lot," Barron said with a shrug. "But no jokes tonight. I'm here as... well, let's just say I'm off duty from the whole public persona thing." Jason stared, his brain doing somersaults. This was the kid from the tabloids? The one who was more urban legend than person? "All right, Barron Trump," Jason said, his tone flat. "What do you want from me?" Barron gestured for Jason to follow him. "Not so fast. First, I need to show you something." Jason trailed behind as they walked into a sprawling, high-tech room that felt like a cross between a museum and a command center. The walls were covered in screens, each one displaying moments from Jason's life. His time in the military, his volunteer work at a community shelter, and, painfully, the day he'd been let go from his last job. Jason's stomach twisted. "What is this? How do you even have this?" "I have resources," Barron said simply, his tone casual, as if that explained everything. Jason pointed at the screens. "This is not normal, man. What are you trying to pull here?" Barron turned to face him, his expression surprisingly serious. "Look, Jason, I don't need to pull anything. You're the real deal. You've been through hell and back, and yet here you are, still standing. You deserve more than what life's handed you." Jason narrowed his eyes. "So what? You're some kind of billionaire fairy godmother now?" Barron smirked. "Not quite, but I do have an opportunity for you. A job." Jason raised an eyebrow. "A job? Doing what?" "Protecting something important," Barron said, his voice cryptic. "That's all I can tell you for now. The pay's good. Great, actually. But there's one catch." Jason crossed his arms. "Let me guess. It's dangerous." Barron nodded. "And one more thing. You'd have to leave your past behind, completely." Jason took a step back, his mind racing. "You want me to just erase everything?" "I'm offering you a fresh start, Jason. Nothing more, nothing less." Jason stared at the screens again, at the pieces of his life laid bare for a stranger to see. He thought about his empty apartment, his empty bank account, and the emptiness that had settled into his chest long ago. Maybe a fresh start was exactly what he needed. After a long pause, he turned back to Barron. "All right, I'm in, but this better not be some kind of setup." Barron's grin returned. "You won't regret it. Welcome to the team." Jason should have known better. The moment he signed that contract, every survival instinct he'd honed in the military screamed, "This is too good to be true." But desperation is a funny thing. It makes you ignore the blaring alarms in your head. The job sounded simple enough. Guard a storage facility holding valuable documents. No details, no questions, just show up, do the work, and cash a paycheck bigger than anything he'd ever seen. For a guy with $5 to his name a week ago, it felt like winning the lottery. The facility itself was in a nondescript building on the edge of the city, the kind of place you drive past without a second glance. Inside, it was clinical. White walls, steel shelves, and more cameras than a reality TV show. Jason was stationed in a small office with a desk, a chair, and a monitor showing security feeds. Easy, right? At first, it was. Quiet nights, no interruptions, and no one even coming close to the building. Jason almost started to believe he'd lucked out. Then he found the box. It was an unassuming thing, tucked away on the highest shelf in the farthest corner. Black, with the word confidential stamped in bold letters across the top. Jason wasn't the nosy type, but something about the box felt off, like it didn't belong there. Curiosity got the best of him. He glanced at the security feed, empty as always, and grabbed the box. As he opened the lid, his heart dropped. Inside were stacks of files, photographs, and USB drives. The first thing he saw was a spreadsheet. Names, dates, and numbers. Lots of numbers. The kind that scream something shady is going on. Flipping through the documents, Jason's blood ran cold. These weren't just random papers. They were evidence. Bribes, payoffs, and connections to people in power. politicians, police chiefs, even CEOs. The deeper he looked, the darker it got. One photo showed a man in a suit shaking hands with another man, both grinning like they just won a rigged game. Jason recognized one of them, a high-ranking officer he'd once worked with in the military, and then he saw it. A photograph of himself, taken years ago, at an event he barely remembered. It was innocent enough, Jason shaking hands with that same officer, but in the context of everything else in the box, it looked damning, like he was part of the corruption. Jason slammed the lid shut, his hands shaking. What the hell is this? He stormed into Barron's office the next morning, clutching the box like it might explode. Care to explain this? Jason demanded, slamming it down on the desk. Barron didn't flinch. In fact, he looked almost amused. I see you've been busy. Jason pointed at the box. This is a setup, isn't it? You're trying to drag me into something I didn't sign up for. Barron leaned back in his chair, completely unbothered. Relax, Jason. It's not a setup. It's an opportunity. An opportunity for what? To go to jail? To get dragged into some conspiracy I had nothing to do with? Jason's voice was rising, but he didn't care. Jason, Barron said calmly, you're not in those files because you're guilty. You're in them because you're a loose end, someone they couldn't control. Jason blinked, his anger momentarily replaced by confusion. What are you talking about? Barron leaned forward, his expression serious now. The people in those files, they've built an empire on lies, manipulation, and fear, and they're untouchable because no one's brave enough to stand up to them. That's where you come in. Jason crossed his arms. And what? You think I'm just going to waltz in and take them down? Why me? Because you've already lost everything, Barron said, his tone blunt but not unkind. You've got nothing to lose, and that makes you dangerous to them. You're the kind of person they never see coming. Jason stared at him, trying to process what he was hearing. Part of him wanted to walk away, to leave the box and all its nightmares behind. But another part, the part that had always fought for what was right, wouldn't let him. So what happens now? Jason asked, his voice quieter. Barron smiled. Now you decide. You can walk away and pretend this never happened, or you can help us tear their empire apart. The choice is yours. Jason looked down at the box, the weight of its contents pressing on him like a physical force. He thought about the lives that had been destroyed, the people who'd suffered because of the names in those files, and he thought about his own life, the emptiness he'd felt for so long. When he looked up, his decision was clear. I'm in. Barron's grin widened. Welcome to the fight. What would you do in Jason's place? Share your thoughts and let us know if you or someone you know has faced something similar. Like, comment and share to spread awareness. Your opinion matters. This story was made to highlight important issues and inspire change. Let's make the world a better place together.